Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking the time today.
Thanks, Allie.
We'll get started here with Josh Tolentino and then Mike Kay.
Hi, Nick. Good to see you.
Hey, Josh.
So last night you spoke about the physicality level of the, what TJ Edwards, what he's been playing over the past month. From your perspective, with the extension today, what made the team, want to get this done now? And a follow-up question to that is, I guess specifically over the past month, what have you seen him and what does he do so well, with what Jonathan Gannon asked him to do?
Yeah, just the good player. He's playing really good football right now. So excited to have him locked up, for next year. And as far as what we're asking him to do, just be around the ball, be physical to the football. When you watch TJ come after the ball, he's getting some production in the pass game, but when you watch him come and get an attempt at the tackle, he's always punching at the ball, and you really felt that. I felt that big time. He had a hit on the sideline in the Denver game where he really came after the ball and punched at it. I remember saying over the headset, man, I would never want to get punched by that right there. And so he's just really physical to the football, and we talk a lot about strip attempts, and you can see they're starting. Our guys are continuing to get attempts, and sometimes these come in bundles. And so, and the way he punches at that thing, the way he's violent to that football is really something that's noticeable, and that I know the ball carriers feel, and they gotta be able to protect against that.
Go ahead, Mike, and then Dave Zangaro.
Hey, Nick, what's the latest on Jordan Howard, Davian Taylor, and Sean Bradley?
Sean I'm just looking at my notes. Sean he has a shoulder sprain. He should be good this week. Davion has a knee sprain. Most likely he's going to be headed to IR. And most likely as we get more information. Jordan Howard, he also has a knee sprain. Again, I'm looking at my notes down here. And most likely he'll be out this week. Don't know that for sure yet. Has a chance to play next week.
Go ahead, Dave, and then Martin Frank.
Hey, Nick, how much did you know about Darius Slay before you got here, and what have you learned about him since you've been here?
Yeah, I knew obviously how tight he was in coverage. You know about him. I don't think there was a lot of times that we went against him. I want to say 2015 with the Chargers might have been the only time that we played. Yeah, that's right. He did at the end of the half. But we knew he was a really sticky in coverage. And then you just know about the good players around the league, even if you don't go against them, just because of watching different highlight shows, knowing about the league and everything like that. And so I always knew he was a good player. When you're around him, he's just got a contagious personality, contagious leadership. Just loves being around football every day, ready to come to work every single day. And now, what I'm seeing, right, with the 11 games I've been with him is like, man, he's really good with that football in his hand. He gets that football in his hands, he can go. And so, that makes me think maybe I got to get him a couple reps on offense and give him some touches. But, I just see a player that embodies this get better every single day, come to work every single day. He's truly, I just think he's truly happy to be a football player, and what a dream that we all have as a coach, as a player. Like, we're living out our childhood dreams, and I just see him. When you know how grateful you are when you live out your childhood dreams. It makes you even work harder, right? It's not it makes you work harder at it, and so I see him just so grateful to be an NFL player, and then he takes advantage of all his opportunities by working every day to get better at his craft so he can be one of the best in the league.
We'll go to Martin and then Zach Berman.
Hey, Nick. Obviously, the last 4 weeks, you guys have averaged like 217 yards rushing per game and everything. And it just so happens to coincide with Lane Johnson coming back from his absence. Like, how much has he helped kind of stabilize that offensive line? How big a role has he had in your running success these last 4 games?
Yeah, a huge role. When I look at our offensive line, it's led by 62 and 65. And I know Jason sets the table for everything of what we're going to do, where we're going with the point, everything like that. And it's those two guys that really, really carry us. And Jordan's playing good football, and Landon's playing good football, and Jack Driscoll's playing good football. And when Nate Herbeck's getting in, he's playing good football. And so, but it starts with those two guys. It starts with Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce. And Lane's just been playing outstanding. You can see he's just so big and powerful. To me, he's the best tackle that I've been around in my 12, 13 years in the NFL. He's somebody that can lock down his side and pass protection, is powerful and technically sound in the run game of, fitting double team blocks on his way to the linebacker. And that was on full display last week, or, yesterday. And it's been on full display for the last 4 weeks.
Go ahead, Zach, and then John McMullen.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. I know you're not literally negotiating the contracts, but I imagine you have input on who you want here long term. The players you've signed to extensions here mid-season, why are they the players you want as foundation players here going forward?
You're always going to start with a talent, right? You always start with, is this guy a good football player that we want to move forward with? And so talent's always the first thing you think about. And then, you want the right type of guys in the locker room leading, right? And you want to reward the guys that are, good football players and good people, and guys that are going to, because I think when you talk about high character guys, they're going to work themselves to become better every single day. High football character, high character guys they're going to be able to achieve their ceiling. And so we just see, when they're great, when you pay a guy like Dallas Goedert or Avonte Maddox, or TJ Edwards, it's an example to the younger guys of he got paid right there because he's a good player and he works his butt off to become the best player he can possibly be. And, those are two common denominators, obviously, of guys in that role. And I'm really excited to have those guys locked up for the next couple years. You're sound in those areas and those positions, and those guys all are on their way up to being one of the best in the league at their position.
Go ahead, John, and then Jeff McLean.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, John.
Kind of talking about the passing game. Obviously, you guys have had so much success running the football. There hasn't been a ton of targets. It's been mainly Devontae and Dallas. Any concern with some of the younger players, Quez and Jalen? How do you keep them involved when maybe they're going through this stretch where they're not seeing the football as much as they would like?
Yeah, you go through everything and you're great in the plays, and when these big runs happen, again, you're right. There's only 13 there's only 13 completions. That means there's going to be, with Devontae having, what did he have, 4 yesterday and 5 by Dallas, that's 9 of the 13 completions. And so, yeah, I know when you play wide receiver, you want to touch the football, but they were affecting the game in other ways. I thought Jalen did a good job of in his return game. I averaged over 10 a return yesterday in punt return. And then I thought Quez did some good things in the blocking. There's definitely a couple of things we got to clean up, but those receivers, when you're running the ball like that, it takes everybody. It takes the quarterback getting us into the right play. It takes the quarterback holding the backside off of a fake. It takes the offensive line. It always starts with the offensive line and tight ends, and then the receivers and back. The back's hitting the hole, and receivers blocking on the perimeter to create some big plays. And so. But there's no doubt we want to make sure that those guys touch the ball too, because they're playmakers as well. But just the way the game went, I think we have those guys are mature guys, and they understand how the game went. And there's no doubt that they want to touch the ball, right? And we want them to touch the ball. And so, and that's, we'll see how this continues out. But there's no doubt we want them to be involved in the offense and actually touching the ball, not just blocking. But it was great to see JJ have a really big play. In that game. That will be our play of the game when we talk to our team on Wednesday. JJ has been a guy that's really been in there to set the tone in the run game, to be able to be in there in some play action things. on different ways, whether he's getting the ball or not getting the ball. And then he gets that big 23-yard completion yesterday to kind of pull us out of a rut on offense and get the chains moving and help us close out that game. So, JJ's been really patient through that, and when his number was called yesterday, he made a big time play, and that's what I'll expect out of Quez and Jalen as well. When their number's called, they'll make a big time play because we've seen them do it in the past.
Okay, we have time for 2 more, so we'll go to Jeff and then Pat Gallen.
Hey Nick, you've talked about Jeff Stoutland's role as a run game coordinator, but I'm interested in how detailed it gets. I know there's only so many runs technically you could run, but it seems with all the ways he blocks it up differently and moves guys around and all the shifting parts and how they execute it, I was wondering if you can give a little more insight into how detailed it gets for Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff is heading up the research on what angles look good, what different things that the defense are doing to stop the run game. What plays look good against our defense, what we've been good at, and kind of bringing all that information in and talking through it. The defensive end techniques, the linebacker techniques, no detail is left unturned. To me, Coach Stout is as advertised, and why I say that is because for the last 3 years in Indianapolis, Frank has told me how good Coach Stout is, and he's as good as advertised. He thinks about the players, of how we got to get them in position to make their blocks, and it always starts with them first, and then it just goes to every little detail you can imagine from, like I said, the linebacker techniques, the D-tackle techniques, the defensive end techniques. Different places when you put the back here, what does the defensive line do when you put the back here? And so the detail that we go into, I mean, there's a long checklist of probably 15 to 20 things I ask when it comes to the run game. Hey, what do you do? What happens when this happens? And Coach Stout has an answer every time I ask him those things. And if he doesn't have an answer, he's going to find it. And so super glad that he's on this staff. And because, I value him. I think, when you look at position coaches, when you look at Coach Stout, he's not only this great technician, right? All our position coaches have to be great technicians and to get the player better. And Stout is very good at that. You can see it's just his history. You guys know that the offensive linemen continue to get better as they're here. And then also on top of that, he knows how to put the players in position to succeed. And so, like I said, it's a group effort. We talk through everything, and he's headed up all the research on the run game. And I'm sure glad we have him here because he's a really, really, really good football coach.
Last one here with Pat.
Hey, Nick. You mentioned Jason Kelce a little bit already, but there were a couple of plays that really stood out from him yesterday. The block on Miles' run, and then on the Goddard screen early in the third when he kind of skated along the line to not go too far ahead. How, from your vantage point, does he seem to just kind of get better with age and with every game? Behind the scenes, what does he do to stay at the top of his game?
Yeah, I think you just see him take care of his body, take care of himself. He's like the way his mind works, right? We talk about accelerated vision, like guys, knowing what's going to happen before they happen. And how do you get that? You get that through because you have good instincts, which Jason does, and through years of experience. And so he just seems to know, and he sets the table for everybody. Hey, we're going here, or I see this and I'm going here. And so his ability to process, I think that's where it, he how you see that sometimes in quarterbacks, right? You see as the quarterback gets older, they're throwing for more yards and they're doing and more touchdowns, right? And I think that's a product of they've seen everything. Everything's been thrown. You can't throw something that Jason Kelce that he hasn't seen. And that's kind of how I think about Jason in the sense of, and if kind of like Phillip Rivers, where I just saw him continue. I'm like, well, how did you see that, Phillip? How did you know that was coming? Well, they did that to me in 2008. Okay, and it feels the same way with Jason. And then as far as your question about the play around the edge on Miles' long run, I think it was like 12, 15 yards. Like, that's a block. The block he makes, I feel like I haven't seen that block. I'm giving him very high praise because he's a great player. that's like a movie style block, right? Where you don't see like a guy accelerate through one block and then go continue on to a next block, throw another block. I think I saw that on the only other time I see that. He made one of those same blocks against Atlanta, and I said the same thing. I've seen it against Jason Kelce do it against Atlanta. I saw Jason Kelce do it against the Saints yesterday, and I saw Billy Bob on Varsity Blues do it again in West Texas on that. Those are 3 times I've seen that play happen, and so I mean it was incredible. It was such a good play that he made yesterday, and and he just continues to get better the more he sees.
Safe to say the Varsity Blues your favorite football movie?
I like to Remember the Titans. That's probably up there. Varsity Blues was good. It was good, but I'm more of a Remember the Titans guy.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.